Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Let's Talk OMMA. I am super excited about this podcast. It is our agency's first ever podcast and first ever episode. I'm your host, Portia Riley. I am the agency's PIO, or Public Information Officer. And of course, for our first episode, we have our Executive Director, Adria Berry. Thank you for joining us. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. I'm excited about this.
The goal of this podcast is to shed some insight on our agency through internal and external guests. So we're excited to bring this to you guys, and we will get into it. Let's talk. So just talk about us becoming an independent agency. At the time of this recording, we are inching near there, and by the time it drops, we will be an independent agency officially.
Ooh, yes. This is such an exciting time. It's unprecedented. I mean, truly, think about when has this happened in state government, that you get to build a new agency from the ground up. We are working hard every day. We have a transition team. And so that transition team has been working since May when Senate Bill 1543 passed. We've been working since May to make sure that we are ready to become our own agency by November 1st, 2022. So that means we will be basically pulled out of the Department of Health. So all of the functions that Department of Health did for us, finance, legal, HR, we will be doing on our own. We've built those teams up. We are ready to go. And man, it's just the energy around OMMA is exciting right now. Everyone is looking forward to the future. We're optimistic about our ability to really just establish our place as the regulatory body over the medical marijuana industry in Oklahoma.
And then how does it feel for you to be the leader in this charge of change?
Thanks for asking that, Portia. It's a heavy feeling, but it's a good feeling. I feel optimistic. I genuinely just feel honored to be able to lead this agency at this time. We have some fantastic people we've recruited to be in key positions, and I feel honored to work with the talent that we have at OMMA. I feel honored to be able to work with the industry and learn their struggles and try to understand more about what they're dealing with and how, as the regulatory body, we can work better with them. Same with patients. I guess at the end of the day, the word that comes to mind is it's an honor to be in this position.
Talk about some of those things that go on behind the scenes in making this happen that people don't see on the outside.
There is a whole lot. We have to make sure we're all staying on track and we're all keeping track of our responsibilities and accountabilities. So we've been meeting weekly internally, and we've been meeting weekly with the Department of Health to make sure that we're checking all those boxes so that on November 1st we can split off with confidence, knowing that we as OMMA have everything covered and there won't be anything missing. And the industry will know that we're going to be out there every day just like we always have been, as far as compliance inspectors out in the field, our investigators out digging deeper on issues that they see out in the field. But our call center, that's incredibly important. Our call center and our comms teams, we're making sure that we have all of the IT in a position that it's seamless so that we don't miss a day of work, because our licensees and citizens of Oklahoma depend on us to be there when they need us. So all of that's going on behind the scenes, and it's been a wild and fast ride, but we're ready and excited.
I know you mentioned compliance and regulation. What are your long-term goals and hopes for the agency with it being independent, branching off on this new journey?
I look at it as an opportunity for us to really set our own goals and be able to be flexible, pivot when we need to. I know those are a lot of buzzwords, but they truly apply to what I'm talking about. If we know that we need to be out in Northeast Oklahoma, for example, more often than we are, then we can quickly say, let's send some staff out there. Let's make sure we are on the ground in every county in Northeast Oklahoma, and that we have enough people to be out there visiting with all licensees. But the other part is making sure that we are just entrenched in the industry, and that they know they can call us if they have questions. We know what's going on at every licensed facility, so that if there are Oklahomans who are concerned about any specific area of the state and what's going on on their neighboring land, we will have that knowledge. We will be able to say, we've been out there, we've had eyes on that place, we've walked through, we know what's going on at our licensed facilities. So for me, it's about us being able to truly just dig in deep and do our jobs the best we can and be flexible as when we need to be. And when you're part of a larger agency like Department of Health, it's a really large agency. They have a lot of a lot of responsibilities. And so when you're part of that large of an agency, it's just not as easy to move as quickly as we need to as OMMA. And so I'm grateful for their support that they've provided us the past few years. And I'm grateful that they understand that this move is for the greater good of Oklahomans, licensees, patients, and OMMA employees.
Through some of the public presentations I've done, I hear that a lot. The State Department of Health is very busy, especially with the COVID situation, and they're grateful and excited that we're becoming an independent agency. How does that make you feel hearing that from the public?
It feels good. I'm glad they put the trust in us, and I'm really grateful that the legislature puts the trust in us to make this happen. I know that we have a lot of support at the legislature right now. We have people who want to see us succeed, and they want to see us out responding to complaints, and they want to see us making sure that we are at every facility, and also making sure that we're ensuring that product that's on the streets is safe, that it's tested properly. So I can't stress enough how much the support from the legislature, the support from citizens, those are the things that drive us to do what we're doing and to make sure that we are reaching the goals that they set for us.
On a lighter note, let's talk about you. So just kind of talk about your journey that led you here to OMMA and the position you are now.
I grew up actually in Broken Arrow, went to Broken Arrow High School, left Broken Arrow, moved to Texas for a while. I went to college down in Dallas at University of Texas at Arlington, and I worked full-time during college. I took kind of that path of the stubborn child who doesn't want to listen to their parents, and so I worked full-time, and I worked at a CPA's office, went to college, earned my political science degree, and after that, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I didn't know if I maybe wanted to go be a paralegal or if I wanted to go to law school, but I knew I was interested in the law. So I took some time off. I worked for a while as an administrative assistant and saved some money, paid off some bills, and decided to apply for law school. I ended up going to the University of Tulsa Law School. I lived with my younger sister. It was perfect timing. She had just graduated from college, had an apartment in downtown Tulsa, and I was able to live with her and go to law school there in Tulsa. But while I was in law school, I still didn't really know what I was going to do. So for all of you 20-somethings out there who are still figuring it out, I promise there's plenty of time. Just experience as much as you can. That's what I would say. Went to law school, graduated, and I actually moved straight to Houston after law school. That's where my husband at the time grew up and lived. I took the Texas bar exam and ended up practicing criminal defense first, right out of law school. I worked for this old school West Texas criminal defense lawyer. He had a cowboy hat, snakeskin boots, and a stuffed rattlesnake in his office. And he was rough around the edges, but taught me how to go to court, taught me the basics. And I appreciate him to this day, but man, he was a tough boss, I'll say that. So I knew I didn't want to do that forever. And luckily, eventually, living in Houston, I was able to move into more of the oil and gas side and work on some oil and gas lawsuits. Had my children, so I do have two young daughters, and right now, when people ask how I am or what am I up to, I say work and kids. And I like it that way. I love my job and I love my kids, but it's that balance all the time of raising children and running an agency that's becoming its own. It's not for the faint of heart, but I will say at OMMA, I'm surrounded by lots of fellow working moms, working parents, and we all understand each other's day to day, and we're all very empathetic to each other, so I appreciate that. But anyway, so I moved back to Oklahoma about 6 years ago, got into lobbying by chance, and ended up lobbying for several years. In between, I've taught at several different colleges down in Houston and up here. I was an adjunct at UCO for a little bit. So I don't know. I'm one of those people that always has to be doing something. I'm go.
Same.
Okay.
Same.
You get it. And
yes.
So I just have done a lot of different things, and I couldn't have ever written out a plan for my life to end up where I am. You couldn't have told me I'd end up here. So I will say, when I look back at what brought me here, it's truly just relationships. You got to know the right people, but you also have to work really hard and prove that you know what you're doing. And so part of that came when I worked at the State Chamber of Oklahoma, when I worked for Governor Stitt's administration through the COVID response. That was a crash course in crisis management and crisis communication. I thrived in that environment. And so whenever the governor needed someone to come over to OMMA, he thought of me. Luckily, his staff brought me in to talk to me about his request for me to come over and help OMMA get on some solid ground. And really, it was tying back to that experience in crisis management. And he knew that I could handle the pressure of the position, and that means more to me than anything, that he knew that I could handle it. And he trusted me with that, and the people of Oklahoma trust me with that. So I am here because I will say by the grace of God, because I had no idea what I was doing half the time.
Amen to that. I feel like that is everyone coasting through life in general. You're just kind of living in the moment, and it happens when it happens. You just trust the process and trust your journey. But I feel like that's a lot of great information and advice for, like you said, young college kids, young career professionals. Just really take the time to absorb everything and enjoy it while it's happening. Don't always turn the page looking for what's next.
Absolutely, yes. And remember that it's not going to happen quickly. I can remember times that I was very impatient. I thought I should be moving up quicker than I was at different roles, at different jobs I've had. And I look back and I realized all of it happened for a reason. And some of it was to teach me patience and humility. And that's a really necessary part of moving up in your career and into a leadership role.
Yes, I think when you realize that where you're at is preparing you for what's next, you really learn that, because I'm the same way. I feel like I get somewhere and shortly after I'm like, what's next? Let's move up. And it's like you really have to just absorb where you're at to prepare you for that next step. Like you said, don't rush it. I think that's great advice for everyone.
Absolutely. I agree. And the growth in there, when something's painful and you're feeling, or not literally painful, but internally painful, you're thinking, I should be somewhere different. I want something different. Why is this person annoying me at work? All those little things, all of that is forced growth. You know what I mean? It's if you stop and you learn the lessons from all of those things, it just makes such a difference in your path and your journey. And I know it sounds so corny, but it's so true.
Big time. I agree with that 100%. And then when you got into this role as OMMA's executive director, what was that moment that you thought to yourself, this is it, this is where I want to be, and this is where I'm meant to be right now?
That's a great question, Portia. I was thinking through it this weekend, just randomly thinking through the stages of working at OMMA, because there are lots of different stages, and especially in leadership roles, I've seen it. I've seen people go through the phases of they love it, they're optimistic, they're energized, and then you go through this phase of, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into? When you look around and you really see how much work there is to do, it can be very overwhelming. And if you get caught in striving for perfection, oh man, it gets really overwhelming. So I would say that I really early on in the job questioned why I said yes and why I'm here, because there is a lot. But pretty quickly, once I started being able to hire people that I could trust to do the jobs I knew needed to be done. And that sounds vague, I know, but we needed to build a team. Once we were able to build properly and get the right people in that I could delegate to, and I saw things happening, oh man, that's an amazing feeling, knowing that we're all working towards the same goal of making OMMA better, making OMMA better at our job, which is to regulate the industry, regulate patient licensing, commercial licensing, communicate with Oklahomans and licensees. Once you see all those things happening, it's just an amazing feeling. Can't imagine being anywhere else right now.
I know a lot of times when people meet you, they're like, wow, I didn't expect her to be so cool, to be so down to earth. I think when people think state agency, they don't think this normal person that you can have a regular conversation with. I've even heard that from folks in the industry outside of our agency say that about you. Why is that so important to you, just maintaining that comfortability among not only your employees, but the general public and licensees as well?
It's not actually something I've thought about strategically. I'm genuinely just who I am. I'm myself. I'm a pretty blunt person, and so I like to have honest and genuine conversations. I really just don't think too much about how I'm perceived. So even you telling me that is news to me. I have no idea how I'm perceived. I think often about the saying, what they think of me is none of my business. I focus on my job, and I focus on doing a good job, and I focus on making sure OMMA staff feel supported and encouraged, because I know this is a tough job. This is not your normal state agency. There's a lot of Well, there are a lot of tough state agencies to work for, so I'm not going to dismiss any of those. But this one is new, and things are constantly changing. So when you're building, there's not a lot of room for things to be consistent and steady because we're always finding areas to improve and change. So I like to make sure our employees are feeling supported when those changes are happening. And I know we've got a lot of room to grow there, but I think that it's an interesting question because I don't really ever think about it.
That quote, "What others think of me is none of my business," is one of my favorites. I live by that. I feel like you're a lot happier when you live your life that way and you operate that way in general.
Absolutely, yes.
I know you mentioned, having some of those tough days. Like you said, this is a newer agency. Things are changing rapidly and constantly. What gets you through on those days that are harder than others?
Well, it's the big picture. It's that we're in the middle of this big journey, this big change, and seeing that we are moving forward, we are making progress. Just the reminder of not letting perfect be the enemy of good. That's one thing I tell myself pretty consistently. But also just taking a step back to ensure we're actually moving forward. That's the goal. As simple as it sounds, we can't be stagnant. We can't be moving backwards. Even if we're inching forward, that helps me get through every single day because big picture, we will all look back at this experience and I can bet you that none of us will be able to believe all of it when we look back. We won't believe what we were living through and working towards in the moment.
It's exciting to be a part of. I'm glad to be a part of it myself. And then big picture goals. What is the agency always striving to achieve from your perspective?
There are a lot of things, but we are always wanting to make sure that we are being transparent in our communication. So whether that's with licensees, citizens of Oklahoma, the legislature, internal employees, we're consistently improving the way we communicate and what we communicate. And so we built a great comms team that you are part of. And thank you. I'm glad that you chose to work at OMMA as well, Portia. So glad you're here. But we have this team that is focused on that. So that's important. Our industry, the industry we regulate is so new as well. So we talk about ourselves being new. The industry and the patients, have only been around for 4 years. So they have lots of questions and they need clarity. They need to understand why we do things how we do them. So putting out communication is a really important part of this job in this place, being at OMMA. So that transparent communication, getting some more education done. So education internally for OMMA employees, wanting to make sure we all understand the rules, why they say what they say, if we have a change in the rules and regulations, why that change was made, just clarity and transparency, making sure that we're consistently communicating the same thing with our licensees about rules and regulations and educating them as much as we can. But the biggest thing we have to remember day to day when we walk in here is that we have over 11,000 commercial licensees and over 380,000 patient licensees that look to OMMA for guidance. So everything we do needs to be with them in mind. So whether it's the communication, whether it's the rules and regulations, we're not going to make all of them happy. And that is just a fact. There's no way to make everyone happy. But if we are doing what's best for OMMA, what's best for the citizens of Oklahoma, and what's within our statutory authority to do, we are doing our jobs. And we have to hold tight to that and support each other internally because there are tough days when we know that there are people throwing rocks at us and proverbial rocks at us. If you pay attention to that stuff, it can wear you down. But internally, we know that what we are doing is on the up and up, and we are moving forward and doing what's right for the industry and for Oklahomans.
What's the most rewarding thing for you being a part of OMMA?
The most rewarding thing for me truly is watching people grow. I can be a little tough and have high expectations, but when people rise to that and grow and I see people meeting those expectations and setting their own goals, it's an amazing feeling, and it's rewarding in a way that I had no idea it would be this rewarding. So it's a great thing to see.
And then lastly, the toughest question of them all. What is your favorite thing to do outside of work?
Well, raise my children. But besides raise my children, because they are everything, I love being outside. Just love being outside. So besides June, July, and August when it's 100 degrees and miserable, the rest of the year you're going to find me outside. Either I'm working in my flower garden, I'm hanging outside with friends. I love to just sit outside on a patio with my friends and chat and relax. So just anytime I can be outside soaking up the fresh air, getting a little bit of sun, that's my favorite thing to do.
Same. I love to chill. I love to go hiking. I love to be outdoors, especially during this weather. Fall weather is my favorite. I feel like nothing can beat it, and I'm super excited that it's finally here. Thanks again so much for joining us.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
And thank you all for tuning in to Let's Talk OMMA.